Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the ThePCelitist. My name is Woodsie.
My name is Shepherd.
And today I want to focus like a laser beam on something because you know us. We like to go on these very broad discussions about something or...
Long-winded nonsense.
No, not nonsense. Games. Video games. Anyway, so usually we have some broad, subject. But this time, out of those broad subjects, this situation, this particular thing has come up a few times recently. And I just want to aim at it. And it has to do with first person, third person. And I have a gripe.
Okay.
Okay.
In general, or like shooters? You're just talking about the
I'm gonna narrow it down in a
Okay.
second, okay? First person, third person to me outside of a multiplayer is kind of completely subjective.
How so?
Like whether you find it immersive, okay? To me, because if you like looking at your character from the third person, like Kingdom of Amalur or Skyrim, which is generally in first person, it just doesn't bother me that much. If a game gives you the option for a first person, third person, and how you like to play it, I don't care. Do whatever you want, okay? Even in a game where it's cooperative, it's a cooperative gameplay, then I guess it doesn't matter that much. This is where it really bothers me. When you get down to a shooter like Arma 3 or Tom Clancy's whatever
Tactical shooters.
and the third person camera allows you to wall cheat, like peek around the wall and not expose any part of your body while doing it, this drives me nuts. It drives me crazy. I can't tell you how much I hate it.
Bothered me about Ghost Recon.
But when I bring, it's like it seems to be small potatoes for most people. Like whatever, you can see around the corner. But especially when you get down to like Arma 3, it's supposed to be a simulator. The fact that I could just turn my camera and see around a corner doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But
So it doesn't bother you that in a simulator there's third-person view?
well, I think it's the competitive aspect. Because when I have another player, we're both hiding behind walls. We should both be just as blind of what's going on the other side of the wall, unless I risk poking my head out or something. But with a third-person camera, I could just
Pan it around and see what's around the corner.
Yeah, or I could just like looking over a fence and not have to expose my body, and as soon as he jumps out over the fence or something and tries to make a move, I could just pop out and kill him.
Right.
And then there's that whole mind game like, well, is he in third person mode? I'm in, and
Generally in those situations, what I find is a complete stalemate. Each side knows they're doing the exact same thing, looking around the corner,
right.
and just waiting for someone to make the move. I agree, though it bothers me in shooters. It bothers me the most in stealth action.
Mm-hmm.
Though I do very much enjoy, at some point or another, most of these Splinter Cell games.
Right.
It does bother me that in some of them, and again, if you have the option first and third person, it's just, that's why you made the distinction between single player and multiplayer. For single player, it doesn't matter at all. In multiplayer, if given that option, most people are not going to be, and it's kind of along the lines with the Honor Among Gamers video we did like 2 years
Right.
ago about if just because it's in the game doesn't mean you have to use it. But I agree, and so I think that if you want to see what's around the corner, either lean around and I can shoot an inch of your face,
Right.
or give me some cool tool like a dental mirror,
Yeah.
or a fiber optic camera I can just sneak around the corner, something.
Right.
Or put elements within the game, and not so blatant that it's kind of obvious. A piece of sheet metal that I can see the reflection from, or a rain puddle.
Right.
Put things in the environment, not everywhere, because then it's just too obvious. But I do agree that more could be done to eliminate that, especially in a multiplayer where effectively you are completely safe, barring a grenade, and you can keep an eye out on a complete firing vector.
Right.
I agree.
I think there's a lot of what's going on marketed when they market a game.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's easier for studios to do a third-person perspective just because it looks flashier. It looks cooler to see a character on screen like God of War with the guy spinning around and doing all these crazy moves, and then to show it to an audience, it just looks better visually, but it doesn't. to me, it doesn't feel as visceral when you're actually doing things in the game.
Yeah, so many games have been made both first and third person, so it's not like they're showing you something new. But I feel like whenever a new shooter comes out, people are so used to seeing first person footage, it's much harder to distinguish your game from every other game. And I think one of the easiest ways to do that is a third-person perspective.
Feeling like the character distinguishes your game instead of like just a gun.
Just a gun or the way the UI is set up.
Right.
I mean, it would take...
It could be true.
The threshold, I think, is a lot higher for getting some kind of distinction there. But yeah, third-person... Plus, if you want to show off your character animation or the textures of their clothing or the skin, it allows you the opportunity to do that. So I appreciate that it is put into games, but I agree. I think that for multiplayer, it should be one or the other.
It just, to me, I don't understand why the discussion isn't brought up more often, where you say, you know, it destroys these close encounter tactical situations where you're kind of guessing what their other player is going to do. Mm-hmm. It just ruins it. Flat out ruins it.
Well, I agree.
And most people just don't seem to mind that much. That's what grinds my gears.
Yeah. Well, we've had instances of that recently where you and I, in some of the things we've done either in True PC Gaming or just conversations I've had, where few things are more frustrating than when you were really amped about something and someone else is like, no, I don't care. And they actually are offended that you are so upset about it.
Right.
And on the flip side, you are offended that they're not upset about it. It's just one of the things I love about debating about video games.
Yeah.
And I think that's how it's supposed to be. We're supposed to have different levels of intensity of our feelings toward these things. Otherwise, we'd all be angry at the same time, or we'd all be apathetic at the same time.
Well, you know, there's actually another subject in here that I just thought of. That I was going
to say, though, it's not just around corners. It's looking behind yourself. It's anything outside of your... And peripheral vision is not true 180.
Yeah.
But it's anything outside of that 160, 155, whatever it is.
Well, once we get the Oculus Rift,
right,
it'll all be out.
True.
We'll have that full, full view.
370 degrees view. What's your other...
No, this is a great moment.
Is it ironic, by the way, because you started off this video saying we go off on these tangents?
No, we're very broad.
Okay.
But I'm narrowly attacking this one subject, and now I'm narrowly attacking another subject.
So you're attacking the use of it in multiplayer.
Now I'm going more broad, actually.
Okay.
I want to show an example with this subject.
Do we want to ask our loyal listeners what they think of this subject, or do you just want to gripe with no approach? I put it to you. Let us know what you think. Now, do what you need.
They always are good at giving their opinion.
Right.
But we do want your opinion.
Right.
So give your opinion. But now I'm going into something slightly different, but just to show as an example, because we talk about game creation, the choices you make and whatnot, and sim elements and arcade elements. Here's a great example. Star Citizen, which I was showing you earlier today.
Mm-hmm.
You take a ship simulator like that, where maybe you have multiple people on your ship, right? And I think, it's a no-brainer that most people would see, well, there's going to be a third-person camera available to the player. Now, it seems like part of your ship and what type of ship you're flying, you should be subject to the field of view of the ship itself. So when you're deciding what type of ship you want to fly, a fighter should have an open, view versus a frigate should give you very, less visual.
Yeah, more tunneled vision. Yeah.
Exactly. But then someone says, well, you could just, if you feel like your frigate has tunnel vision, just go to the third-person cam. Okay? Solving your issue by doing something arbitrary, like the developer just solving it for you, saying, hey, you know what, I know you can't see in your ship because of whatever, so what we'll do is we'll just create a third-person cam, so now you can see. Now, what that does, it closes you off to other gameplay aspects.
It removes the tactical element of choosing your ship based on your viewability out of the cockpit.
Exactly. And what it also does is it restricts you from creating other gameplay elements that could derive from that. So let's say that we're developing the game. We're like, well, we're against any kind of just third camera for no reason, right? So let's invent a reason within the universe that you might have a camera out there. Maybe there's a little drone that you could send out or an arm that sits behind your ships so you could see. Mm-hmm. Or maybe the second person in my frigate has controls to outward cameras. That way, as a crew, we could communicate with each other when we're getting attacked by fighters. I could look at the different cameras. So now we've just created
a more realistic and immersive way to accomplish the same thing.
Exactly. And isn't that cool?
Yes.
I thought it was cool, and I thought it was like, so if you just stop for a second and go, I'm not going to solve the problem
For the game.
just because I am the god of this universe. I could do anything I want and just say, hey, I'm just going to add a third-person cam, and then that'll solve that issue. Versus, I'm going to make sure I stay within the rules of the world. And think, okay, how would I solve this in this world? If this ship was actually like this and I couldn't see, how would I solve the problem?
That's true. The only reason I would really want that third-person camera, though, is if I was flying by myself and didn't have someone.
Right.
I would really want to just be able to see my ship, and
That's the other thing.
if
I have thought of that
a
100
universe and the
times.
ship so glorious,
That's why I thought of like the arm or the drone, because that is true. Looking at your own ship fly is awesome. But wouldn't it be cooler though? Wouldn't it kind of like have like a novelty to it that you like extend the arm and then you could see your ship?
I agree. Or place place static space stations throughout the universe that are just cameras.
Yeah.
And kind of like on the rides at theme parks.
Right.
You'd ride by at a particular time, and then you have to go pick up your picture of your ship. And pay $35.
It's kind of like that, the second person shooter we've thought of. Instead of third person, second person. So you view everything from like the guys you're killing.
Yes. You watch people through their eyes as they're killing you.
Actually, that would be pretty cool though. If your third person cam was like almost like a Firefly scene, or it's some handheld from some spot some unidentifiable area, and it just zooms in on your ship. That would be sick. Oh man,
what you're really saying is all of these discussions, not just this discussion here, all 100+ discussions we've ever done are a way of saying we want Firefly the video game.
Exactly.
And it's called Star Citizen.
Exactly.
Any other brainless tangents you want to go on?
No.
That's it. So what if
just there's the very specific thing I wanted to address. That
third person perspective in multiplayer.
Yeah, why it doesn't seem to bother most people. Maybe it does. Maybe people just kind of accepted it. I don't know. I think it bothers me. And then secondly, when you come up with ways, I think, when you restrict yourself as a creator and say, well, I'm not God, I can't do anything, I have to follow these laws, that you create cooler things. I think that's one of the lessons learned here. We teach lessons. We have 100+ lessons on our way. Anyway, that was my rant. My name is Woodsie.
My name is Shepherd. This is the ThePCelitist signing out.